Summarize your report on the Clippers, Steve Ballmer, and Kawhi Leonard.
Hello, Dan. We got to stop meeting like this. It's always something when we get together. You may recall how in 2019, the NBA investigated the signing of Kawhi Leonard by the Clippers. This was the Uncle Dennis story, him asking for all these sweeteners, these side deals. This was the Lakers, the Raptors, very mad. Lots of teams very mad. NBA investigates, says this is a cardinal sin, salary cap circumvention, but they find nothing. Today, we have given something, I dare say, to anybody who cares about this stuff. And the stuff here is kind of wild. This is a story that started because of a company called Aspiration, which no one really remembers, in fairness. But they had signed some of the most famous people in the world to be endorsers. Leonardo DiCaprio, Drake, Robert Downey Jr., Cindy Crawford, Cindy Crawford's daughter. All people who endorsed this climate change company that planted trees to zero out your carbon footprint, like good guys, only for those same good guys to have since been embroiled in what has been concurrent Department of Justice and SEC investigations that have resulted in guilty pleas by one of the co-founders of the company, a prominent Democratic politician and donor named Joe Sandberg, who happens to have also been a buddy of Steve Ballmer. And Steve Ballmer, in this story, we establish and report using over 3,000 documents and 7 sources from inside the company, put in $50 million of his own money into Aspiration. Very long windup. I apologize for taking so long. Here's the punchline. The endorsement deal that was the biggest, that Aspiration signed, given all those A-list Avengers, happened to be Kawhi Leonard. $28 million, more than 4 times the rest of the celebrity roster combined. And the kicker, you might argue, is that he didn't do anything. It was a no-show job, did nothing, wasn't obligated to do anything, which we can explain if you want. But the point being, it was a secret deal that no one knew about until now.
NBA have anything to say yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I should say Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, when we asked them for comment, they said that this was provably false, that they denied it. They did not know at the time that we had over 3,000 pages of documents and 7 sources. I look forward to them proving the falsehoods that they allege. I can tell you, though, from the NBA perspective, what I've been told this morning is that it's been a bit of panic over there. I'm told that they did not know about this deal between Steve Ballmer, or at the very least, between Aspiration and Kawhi Leonard, with the influence of Steve Ballmer, according to our reporting, being the driving force of it. So, yeah, it's going to get a little messy, Dan, over there, I think.
What rule did the Clippers break?
So salary cap circumvention is something that the NBA has decided to, in previous statements, take very seriously. So Kawhi Leonard has only signed max contracts. So signed the first one coming off of Toronto. The extension in 2021 is what lines up with the timeline here that we are explaining, the $28 million above and beyond the max deal he signed. He signed another extension just last year. And so the thing here is, and this is, I think, a bit of the character study, Steve Ballmer is the richest owner in all of sports in the world. He's the 6th richest man on the planet. And so if you know anything about how the Clippers have operated, right? The Intuit Dome, a building, as he says, built in his own image for hardcore basketball fans like him, using personal, private money, no taxpayer funds. He is a guy who's expanded his front office, hired a zillion people because that is uncapped. You can spend all of the money on that. But the most important thing this hardcore basketball fan needed, of course, taking over the team from noted bad guy Donald Sterling, is a franchise superstar. And so the rule alleged to have been broken here is that cardinal rule. You gotta stay within the salary cap for your actual players. And 7 sources say that was deliberately what was not done.
But was there a way that they could argue that Kawhi Leonard did represent the company? He was a name that was attached. Like, I'm just looking at, if I'm the Clippers, how do I get deniability?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because typically, there's this funny phrase in courtrooms you hear, like, the absence of evidence is not evidence. Well, in this case, he was endorsing a company. And the absence of evidence is the absence of any endorsement. No tweets, no retweets, no favorites, no likes, no appearances, no nothing. According to the internet, according to the sources we have, nothing. And so the absence of evidence happens to be, in this very narrow but meaningful way, the evidence. And they might say, well, Steve Ballmer didn't know about this, but here is now where I think all of this becomes a bit of an IQ test. Because what I haven't mentioned that we get to in the story is that Aspiration was not merely some random company. Aspiration, on Media Day of 2021, and you can go to the press conference footage and find it, they are announced as this founding sponsor of the Los Angeles Clippers. They are signage everywhere. Back of your courtside seat says Aspiration. Dan, they were going to get the jersey patch. The company collapsed into ruin and disgrace before they got there, but that was the agreement. It was announced. There are headlines everywhere. You can find them. You can see the video. Steve Ballmer right next to the guy who pled guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud just 2 weeks ago. So you can say, we didn't know about this, but then the IQ test is, and this is another bit of reporting, then why, and this is according to the sources who are on tape, the one source we have who agreed to go on tape with voice modulation because of the federal investigations that are ongoing and concurrent, in their experience, Uncle Dennis was calling, as the company was declining and unable to pay its bills, was calling saying, pay us. And inside of Aspiration, what is very clear is that the number one priority, that is a quote, the number one priority for this collapsing fake green bank was you got to pay Kawhi Leonard. As bankruptcy was on the horizon, as no one could pay their bills, as no one else was getting paid, Kawhi was getting paid. And the question I ask you is, why was he priority number one for doing nothing at a company that could not pay its bills? It would seem that there was some influence from behind the scenes.